All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Trading Room with Simon Ree. I am your host, Hisham, and this time I actually got to start with venting out here for a sec. With our podcast going, I think I've had eight different people ask me the same question last month. Friends, family, even my barber of all people. And every single time I'm telling them, guys, you got to listen to Simon. Talk to Simon, not me. So here's the question. Brace yourself. I've got 5,000 in my account. What do I buy?
Yeah, I know that question.
Right? And please tell me in the perfect world, you can give me an answer where I can just copy and paste and send it to all of them.
Yeah, the answer is it's the wrong question.
What do you mean?
Well, it's completely the wrong question. And honestly, mate, the fact that that's the question they're asking, it tells me almost everything I need to know about where they're starting from. I get versions of that question every week as well. Different people, different amounts, but always the same question. What do I buy? Now, when someone comes to me with $5,000 and asks how to trade options, I don't ask them what they want to trade. I ask them what they're trying to build. Now, pros and amateurs are going to approach that $5,000 completely differently. And the gap between those two approaches is where most accounts sadly go to die.
Okay, well, you definitely have got me. And please walk me through that gap because honestly, half the people watching this are going to be sitting there
Hmm.
with 5 grand and thinking exactly the wrong thing right now. But before we go anywhere, I got to push back a little bit. Because if you go on YouTube right now and search options trading, every single thumbnail is going to be some guy in a Lambo or a Ferrari telling you that you need at least 25,000 to take it seriously. So is everyone wrong or are you?
Yeah, every one of those blokes renting Lambos is wrong. And I'll tell you why. Um, they tell you that because their strategies it's because their strategies don't work without size, right? The right strategy will work at $5,000 and it works at $100,000. But $5,000 is the sweet spot for many people who are beginning trading. It's getting interested, starting to get their feet wet. And here's why. Number one, it's enough money to matter. Trading with 500 bucks feels like monopoly money, and you won't develop a real risk management process if you're trading with an amount of money that you perhaps don't respect. For $5,000, losing that hurts enough to teach you lessons that no textbook ever can. The second reason is $5,000. Like if you lose that, it's not fun, all right, but it won't ruin you. If you're earning a decent income and you lose it while learning to trade properly, you will recover. Like I said, it won't be fun, but you will come back with better skills and a much clearer head. And the third reason is it forces discipline. All right, with $5,000 on the line, you can't afford sloppy trades. Every position matters, and every rule becomes essential instead of optional, or it doesn't apply to me.
Right. So please give me the real story. You've watched this play out for 30 years. What does it actually look like when methodology beats account size?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of anecdotes, both real. I've literally watched doctors blow $50,000 accounts in a matter of months because they never learned to respect the market. I saw
Wow.
one guy blow up in 3 months.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, 3 months, it was all gone. And then, we've seen school teacher. I've watched a yoga teacher in our program grind $5,000 up to $15,000 over a year, and then she scaled that to a six-figure account. So very different starting points, wildly different outcomes. And the difference isn't the money, it's the methodology. All right. The amount doesn't determine the success. It really doesn't.
Right. So methodology, and please walk me through what that actually means because I think most new traders genuinely have no idea what methodology means in practice.
Yeah, okay. So most people go wrong from day one. All right. They think they're traders. And honestly, I get it. There's a whole identity that comes with that. The action, the adrenaline. People love thinking of themselves and calling themselves traders. But here's the reframe that actually works if you want to be successful. You're not a trader. You're a risk manager who occasionally takes trades.
Now that's a great line. And unpack that for a sec because I think people will hear that and go, yeah, yeah, semantics, right?
Yeah, look, I get that, but it's much more than semantics. It's the difference between making money and losing it consistently over time. When I was at Goldman, nobody taught us how to find winners, right? What they taught was how to avoid big losses, how to not to get wiped out, how to manage risk. Because if you have an edge, probability will work its magic over the longer term, provided you don't blow up first. And that lesson learned early on somebody else's capital has shaped everything I've taught since. So your job with that $5,000 isn't to try and double it in 3 months. Your job is to keep it while you build skills that compound for decades.
Mm. So 5,000 really isn't capital, it's tuition?
Yeah, look, that's the right way to think about it initially. Look, when you start a business, you don't expect massive profits in month one, all right? You focus on systems, you focus on operations, you focus on customer service, you focus on how to deliver consistently. And what happens? The money follows the competence. Trading is exactly the same. If you grow that $5,000 while learning, brilliant. If you lose a small bit while building real skills, that is still a win, provided you're honest with yourself about what you learned and why.
Right. Yeah, but being honest with yourself is the hard part, isn't it?
it's it's not only the hard part. I mean, it's the entire game when you're learning. It's all of it. Like if you can be honest with yourself about what's working and what isn't, you will get good at this faster than anyone you know. And if you can't, if you keep lying to yourself, you will cycle through accounts your whole life and wonder why.
Right. And for the person watching this right now with 5,000 in their account, tell me, what does the next 90 days actually look like? And not the fantasy version we mentioned earlier, but the real version.
Yeah, well, okay, so there's two versions and you got to pick, right? The amateur expectation is I'll be making 5,000 to $1,000 per week within a month. The aspiring professional says, I'm going to focus on not losing money while I figure out what actually works and build my edge.
And spoiler guys, version 1 isn't real.
Version one is fantasy. All right. So, what does the real version look like month by month? Month one is paper trading and then taking very small positions. Yes, paper trading. I know it's not glamorous.
Yeah, no, I hate paper trading.
Everyone hates paper trading, right? I get it. But you're learning to read charts, you're learning to understand how options are priced, you're figuring out how your broker's platform works, and you're looking to identify setups consistently before putting real money on the line. Now, you never want to get stuck in paper trading. There's no point. But as soon as you're familiar and comfortable, you want to start trading with real money. But small size, all right? You're going to cap each trade at $200 to $300 maximum, no exceptions. Now, month two is where things start to get interesting. You're trading small, but with real money and real emotions on the line. And this is where you'll discover that knowing a setup intellectually and executing it when the pressure is on are two very different skills. Yeah, you'll make mistakes, but that's entirely the point. That's why you're trading small. Month three is all about consistency. You're not swinging for home runs. You're executing your process the same way every single time. Now, some trades work, some don't. That's probability. But you're following your rules, you're managing risk, and you're tracking what's actually moving your account. And like I said, probability will start to work its magic as you start executing cleanly and consistently.
Nice. And so day 90 rolls around, right? What does success look like?
So here's the test. By day 90, if you're break even to slightly ahead, even if you've lost a little bit of money, but you can execute a plan with discipline and consistency, you are ahead of 90% of people who started when you did. If you've made a few $100, but you've got no idea why your trades worked, you're the same as every other aspiring wannabe.
Right. So hear me out. So let's go the other way, right? You've watched hundreds of accounts get destroyed. What's killing them?
Two patterns mainly. They account for two patterns will account for most of that damage. Now, the first one is position sizing like a dreamer. All right, they risk $1,000 a trade because they want meaningful exposure.
Quote unquote meaningful.
Yeah, those air quotes are doing a lot of work there. Um, but look, with $5,000, your maximum risk per trade should be $100 to $150 full stop. Yes, that means smaller gains on individual trades, but it also means you can be wrong 10, 15, 20 times in a row and you still have capital left to learn from. Amateurs risk 20% per trade. They hit three consecutive losers and it's game over. Right? The game is ended before they ever even got to develop their edge. Pros are going to risk 2 to 3% per trade and survive long enough to actually develop an edge. And that's the whole difference.
Okay, and what's the second one?
So this one's more subtle. And honestly, this one breaks more accounts than position sizing does because nobody sees it coming. And this is chasing win rate instead of expectancy. New traders, they all want to be right. They want to be right 80% of the time at least. So they take profits early and they hold their losers far too long because it feels good in the moment, but it destroys accounts mathematically.
Okay, well, hey, you can't just drop destroys accounts mathematically and that's about it. You got to explain a little bit here.
All right, take two traders. Watch this. Trader A. Trader A is right 40% of the time. The average winner is $300 and the average loser is $100 per trade. Trader B, now he's right 70% of the time, feels like a genius. His average winner is $50 and his average loser is $200. Now, most people will pick Trader B in a heartbeat. Higher win rate, less wrong. What's not to love about that?
Okay, yeah, but can you run the numbers and
Yeah,
explain that a
let's
little bit?
let's dig into that because Trader B is going to lose money. Let's assume they place 100 trades each. Now, Trader A is winning $300 per trade. That's $12,000 in winners at 40 wins. All right, 60 losses at $100 each. That's $6,000 in losses. Net, they're up 6 grand. Trader B wins 70 trades at $50 each. That's $3,500 in winners. 30 losses at $200 each. That's $6,000 in losses. So they're down $2,500.
Yeah, so trader B is right way more often and loses money.
It's mathematically highly probable that Trader B loses money every time over a long enough sample. And here's the cruel part. Trader B feels right nearly every day. They walk away from the screen feeling like a winner because they got that high win rate. They tell their mates at the pub how well their trades are going. And then when they look at their account at the end of the year, they wonder where it all went. You see, your ego wants a high win rate. Your ego needs positive expectancy. You got to learn that difference early and you'll save yourself years of confusion.
Right. And if you don't mind, Simon, paint that picture for me because when most people imagine a trader, they picture this guy with six monitors, sleeves rolled up, and just hammering away at the screens all day.
Yeah, look, that's day trading. That's definitely not what I do. And honestly, Hisham, that's not what I'd recommend anyone do if they want to keep their sanity. Look, I'm what's known as a swing trader. I live in Singapore. The US market opens at 9:30 p.m. my time. And here's my actual day. So before the open, I've done my analysis, usually over a morning cup of coffee, and I've identified maybe two or three setups that have met my criteria. So when the market opens at 9:30 p.m., I check whether the conditions I was looking for are still in place. And if they are, I put the trades on. I note where I'm wrong on the trade. I note my point of invalidity, and I close my laptop and then I go to bed.
Wait. Hold up. You go to bed with positions on?
Yeah, every single night. I put my positions on, I'll watch them for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll go to bed.
That's not normal trader behavior.
Well, here's the thing, it's normal professional behavior, right? It's amateur behavior that's not normal. Look, the next morning I check back in with my portfolio. Either the trades are working or it's hit my profit target and I take money off the table, or my point of invalidity has been hit. I cut the position and I move on, no questions asked. But there's no drama. There's no second guessing. There's no staring at tick charts at midnight. And this works because I've removed emotion from the equation. It forces all of the real analytical work to happen when the markets are closed and my head is clear. and it prevents overtrading. And it scales, right? The same process that works for $5,000 can work for much larger accounts too.
And how many trades a week would you say?
Look, with a $5,000 account, probably 2 or 3 trades a week, risking $100 to $150 each. Some weeks are green, not all of them. You'll have the odd red week. But what's happening is you're building a systematic approach, right? You're not gambling on outcomes.
Right. And if we can just zoom out for a sec here, because I think most people miss what they're actually building when they start.
Yeah, they miss this entirely. They think they're trying to grow $5,000 into $50,000. That's not what you're building, right? That's just the surface. What you're actually building is a skill that you own outright and is going to compound with you throughout your lifetime.
Mm,
Financial advisors can disappoint you, right? Employers can fire you, markets can crash. But once you genuinely understand how to read markets, how to manage risk, how to execute a process under pressure, that capability travels with you for life. Nobody can take it away. You can teach it to your kids. I've taught engineers who now generate more income from trading than they do from their day jobs. I've taught doctors who learn to respect the market and they've built 7-figure portfolios starting from much smaller accounts than yours. Lawyers who sleep better at night knowing that they have an income source that doesn't depend on billable hours or, a big client's goodwill. Now, none of them started by trying to get rich quickly. Every single one started by learning not to lose money while mastering something that's simple but not easy. So your $5,000 isn't capital, it's seed capital for skill development. Treat it accordingly.
mm. And I know we've got a part two to this right here. So what's coming?
Yeah, here's another thing that people don't talk about, Hisham. The strategy that builds your account when you go from small account to large account is actually the same strategy that will eventually limit it. You see, what works at $5,000 account size starts breaking at 250,000. And what works at $250,000 needs to change again when you get to over $1 million. Because things like liquidity, they become a real constraint. Liquidity can become a brick wall when you're trading a 7-figure account. Position sizing becomes self-limiting. Your psychology shifts, all right, because the dollar swings can get a lot bigger. And so the whole game evolves. So in part 2 of this series, I'm going to walk you through what I call the 4 regimes of account scaling. You start off as a retail trader. You then go to a portfolio manager in trading. You then move to a capital allocator and then to risk manager and yield engineer. Different stages, different strategies, different identities. Now, most people stall out somewhere in that journey because they're trying to drag small account playbook into the big account world, and the market won't let you. All right, because the truth is your account doesn't get bigger first, you do.
Simon, that right there, that line, that's the whole thing in one sentence.
Yeah, it is. You're right. And look, if you want to follow how I'm watching the markets week to week, I record a free video newsletter called Tail Weekly every Monday before the US market open. And I go through the macro conditions I'm seeing, setups I'm watching, what's moving, where I'm putting capital. The link to that video is in the description below. So subscribe to the channel while you're down there. Join Tau Weekly, our free video newsletter, and you'll get notified when part 2 of this series drops.
All right, Simon, as always, thank you so much. This one was money, guys. This one was money. And just like Simon said, until next time, I'll see you guys next week.
Awesome, Hisham. Catch you next time.
Cheers. Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye bye.